I am so excited to interview one of my favorite yoga teachers way back when I joined the Y. And I was so happy that she agreed to do this interview. Her name is Rachel Harris, mom of three. Listen to her passion: spinning, yoga, Pilates, swimming. And she said that you also started paddling, CrossFit, weightlifting, and her credentials. You're a massage therapist, hot stone massage as well, cupping, Reiki. Um, and I think I would love to hear about this too, the neural reset and the craniosacral therapy, that you attended those classes, but just being involved in so many different areas. You mentioned 1,100 hours now with teaching and continuously. I think I love how on your Instagram it said always learning, live well, and of course, what we were mentioning before, just remembering to breathe. How do you balance it all, and how have your interests and passions, influenced your busy schedule as a mom? Because you work, you have your extracurricular, and then you have to raise your kids. And we all know, you're mentioning all three will be in high school.
Mhm.
Tell us your secret.
My secret is having an amazing supportive family, firstly. But it's about that balance, and that's what yoga is all about, is finding that balance about strength, flexibility, mobility, and breath that we do in yoga, but and that applies directly to life. So all those things, am I good at all those things you mentioned? Not necessarily at all. Some things I don't do at all even anymore, but I still in like today I'm going to go lift some weights. I'm going to go lift some heavy weights. Are they as heavy as they used to be? No. But it's taking one day at a time, and I love to learn, and I found that if I'm not learning, whether it's passions such as movement or my brain and things that are interesting, such as Olelo, Hawaii right now, I began to find kind of a stagnancy in my life. And that then goes into my family. And so if I'm still excited about things, if I'm still kind of pushing the envelope for me, whether it's physically or mentally, it keeps that fire going in me, and it then helps me keep up with my kids.
That makes sense. But and that's the thing. Sometimes when we are exhausted, how do you find it is discipline, or is it just the willingness, or what is it that makes sometimes we think, I was mentioning how I kind of slid off the yoga journey a little bit recently. How do you just show up? I know they always say that, just show up on the mat. That's the first step. How do you find yourself? Because I know you have moments where you're totally exhausted.
I'll be honest. So if to show up, that's literally what you do. So I have a mat. I'm fortunate enough to have a mat that I have out at all times. If I need to literally just go in a restorative pose with my feet up the wall, a bolster, if that's my yoga practice, that's my yoga practice. If I am tired and I don't want to go lift up those weights, what I'll go do is I'll just pick up lighter weights, and I might walk around the house doing kind of a not so great workout, but I'll pester my children and talk to them while I do do some weights. But
That's why you make the yoga classes fun. But see, I just you can just see it in your eyes and just your smile. You are really passionate about it. So how do you think it like affects your level of patience, or as moms, it's really, or parents, it's difficult sometimes to do the day-to-day parenting.
how it impacts my day to day yoga, since I do that on a daily basis, whether teaching or practicing, it really helps ground me. It also, and I tell all my students this, it's a practice of mindful movement, mindful breath, and it's really about being present. And that is a practice. And you can do that. Yoga, literally, you can do I would say you can do yoga anywhere because it's not necessarily the asana, the poses. It's really about that mindfulness. And when we're mindful, hopefully it helps us be less reactive and more aware of what's happening. So if that anger starts to rise, what do I need to do? Do we need to back away, step away from the situation? Do we need to take a breath, go on a walk, or do we explode? I've been guilty of explosions many times, but do I know what's happening? I know it's happening, but do I walk away? It is what it is. We're all human.
I was going to say that embracing humanness, but also that awareness. I think people who have a tendency, right, to just overreact consistently,
Mhm.
isn't awareness the key? Because if once you're aware, you might, I mean, when I explode now, I have the awareness to apologize or explain or make amends, right? Because I think before that, before yoga or mindfulness, my whole goal was to make sure that they knew why I was right or why I was right. You fill in the blank, your agenda.
Mhm. Yes.
So how is it
Well,
with I mean with teens, you have all teenagers and that's an emotional roller coaster in itself.
it is. Oh, I've noticed that it is better for me currently to have a higher intensity. I do like my meditations. I need that to ground me and to start my day off right or end my day well. But I've noticed for me personally, the stress I encounter raising teenagers currently is that I need something a little bit higher intensity. So there are several of my yoga classes that you're gonna sweat a lot, and at the end you're just, oh, I'm so glad I'm resting now. And I find that I like things where I can just whether it's lifting something heavy or whether it's paddling to kind of get that get that take the stress out physically, um, and hopefully then increase those endorphins and everything balances.
You know what? I think that's the key though, because, people do end up reacting and perhaps even, choose violence or choose, actions that might not be healthy emotionally. I bet when you do that movement, you do heal or, you get it all out so that you find
Mhm.
yourself able to probably have a higher tolerance for whatever buttons
Exactly.
you're pushed, like those teenagers. I think, you know what, depending on the personality, I guess no matter what age you are as a child, that's your,
Yes.
when you're irritated, that's what you do, right? So it's up to you. So do you just immediately, if you're in the car or you're in a place where you can't just go to your mat, is it breath work? Or is it,
It is a practice. I try to breathe. I'll be completely honest. If I have great children. I have to admit, I've been incredibly blessed. Rarely do they push me to the point where I feel explosive ever. If I am reactive, I think it's funny because they'll say, "You're yelling at me." And I'm like, "This is actually not yelling.
yeah,
This is a loud voice. This is
I have
not."
that too. And I normally have a loud voice anyway. So when I,
Yes. So I'm like, my loud voice is nothing compared to most people's um, loud voice. And I was like, rarely do I get to the yelling. The yelling is if they're in the room and they can't hear me because their door's closed. But I do try to breathe. For me, it's best to walk away if at all possible. I can't, now that they're teenagers, I can step away. When they're little,
Mhm.
you can't
Yeah,
do
that's the part.
anything.
That's the challenging part with what little ones. At least you can put them in like in a playpen or just put them in a safe
Mhm.
area, right? Because I
Yes.
think that's probably the most challenging phase. But when they start talking and sharing their opinions very, passionately, it's
Mhm.
not so much explosive anger, but maybe mild annoyance, which can lead to, right? If you're tired, I notice if I'm tired or hungry or just like, no, I don't want to do this. And they want to, right?
Mhm.
And it could be
Yes.
just a discussion that turns very heated because opinions differ, right?
Yes. Definitely. And I mean, I have to admit that I have been really fortunate. So my kids don't, they straight up say they don't like yoga. And I respect that, because if I was a teenager and someone held me to yoga class, I would have been like,
Yeah.
why? Why am I doing this? Um, but it's been awesome because up at the middle school, they asked me to come and teach yoga for some of the high school PE credits. And so I taught a
Wow.
gentle yoga and I taught a more of a gentle vinyasa. And it was great because all those kids got exposure to yoga to see like, oh, a lot of them said it's a lot harder than I thought it was. I thought it was just laying around doing nothing.
Right, right.
Um, and so that was really exciting. And I've been able to teach at the high school for the volleyball club, or volleyball, not club, volleyball team. And so
Wow.
introducing those girls to yoga was great. Some of them absolutely hated it, but some of them really got into it. And by Shavasana, they were asleep. And so, and fully, like, they zened out in the musty, smelly weight room in the least yoga like setting, that it's just amazing when you bring people together and they really get present. They just, it magic kind of happens.
It is magical because, and you forget there's all those other people beside you, when you
Mhm.
really get into the zone. And don't you think that might be missing from kids who are so stressed out academically, extracurricular
Mhm.
activities, just what their future holds? I think that's great. Were you thinking of ever introducing it to the lower grades? Like, because they'll probably be more open minded, like the elementary.
I I would love to. I heard that I know in the middle school, and I believe someone told me one of the elementary teachers, I'm not sure which one, um, would introduce some yoga, like reach up to the sky, then reach down to
Yes,
your
yes.
toes.
Hmm,
And
hmm.
so I think that is great, just because no one is meant to be sitting for as much as they sit in school. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
just all of that is really, really amazing. Would I love to? Yes, if the opportunity presents itself. Um, However, there's so much red tape all the time that I
True.
don't know if that's ever going to happen. But who knows? It's, I know that some of the private schools they have. Um, I know one of the gals, and she teaches at a private school for elementary, and it's an optional class, so it's pretty phenomenal. And I was working with Love Pono at a Leeward Community College, offering
I was gonna
a free
say, I
yoga
remember
class.
the some of the mainland colleges, and it's for credit. You can just do an elective, and it's one of I bet most fun and relaxing. You don't have, the endless reading assignments and writing, and that's what's missing regarding our mental health. I mean, do you think that if
Mhm.
more people incorporate, it doesn't have to be like you said, turning yourself into a pretzel poses, but just basic poses, do you think it would help the overall mental health of our society?
I think it would, and just in the sense that we all, I'll be honest, I don't know anyone who doesn't have a phone, and there people are getting phones younger and younger, and social media. I'm guilty of it. My children have social media. I see them get into that, just tap, swipe, swipe, swipe,
Yeah, and you're in a
and
zone. Yeah, you're just in a
yeah.
like, and it can be someone just admitted that they do have an addiction. And it's
Mhm.
something that sometimes I tell my family, could we, and I, of course, use an excuse, well, I have to post a parenting tip or something, but I'm looking at sometimes the dots and things or just the funny things. And then before you know it,
Yes,
time has
yeah,
escaped. No wonder they have a hard time doing homework. They probably
exactly,
use it as a resource and then, hey, I'm going to just check out,
exactly, exactly. So I think that if we were to somehow get society, get if we could find kids when they're younger to introduce them, at least they have that resource available to them to say, oh, when I'm stressed, let me try this. Let me try a breathing exercise. Let me try a restorative yoga pose.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Let me ground myself. Just because with social media, with the convenience and instant, what's the word?
It
Just
is
how everything,
instantaneous. Yeah, it is.
that it's, we don't have that patience, I think, as is. I know my patience is not near what it used to be before I got my advanced phone. Do you remember the old flip phones where we
Yes,
had to like
yes,
tap tap tap
yes.
to
Yeah,
text
yeah,
people?
yeah.
And
And now it's like if it's just thinking or like it's like Google's having a hard time or just right.
yeah,
There's
it's
Wi-Fi
amazing.
issues and you think, wait a minute, what's going on? And especially if I'm
Exactly.
with a student and I should just say, it's okay, right? But I have to wait, look in their Google Classroom, and I'm like, okay, where is it? And then they have to go in. But now there's
Yeah.
apps though, so that I know
Yeah.
like Headspace has mini yoga, little
Yes.
clips, and YouTube always. If I do five
Always.
minute morning yoga, I actually did yoga for stomach ache, and I was
Oh.
shocked after 12 minutes. I really thought I'd cancel my day, but it's
Uh-huh.
amazing how you could probably put your time limit,
Mhm.
whatever it is, stress, anxiety, stomach ache, headache, and then something pops up.
Something will pop up.
Yeah.
Something will definitely pop up. And what I find even more amazing is that last weekend I was able to do it's not an official training, but it was a training that it was for yoga for amputees. So
I saw
even if you
I
have
saw that.
limitations, it's available. It's available online, even on YouTube for free.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so I think the only thing that we're guilty of is that we spend too much on our phones, and we don't take, that 5, 10, if we have an hour, great. If we have 75 minutes, amazing. But we don't make time for it. And as we were talking before, probably if we put it on our calendar, we would hold ourselves more accountable. Um,
Just
but one of
schedule
my
it, right? Just schedule
Yes,
it.
to schedule. And one of my yoga teachers that I did a training with said that everybody needs to do a final resting pose, a Savasana, 15 to 20 minutes every single day. And
Wow.
and just to reset that nervous system and let us be able to function well. And I took that training years ago, and I'm completely guilty of being like, okay, I'm a 5-minute Shavasana. That's good. We're good. But it's amazing when you actually carve out that time to rest, that you're like, wow, I feel amazing. Why don't I do this every day?
I think I'm going to try that because sometimes knowing that I'm going to have a 35-minute or even like a 21-minute, but I could definitely do that. And that way, especially at the end of the day, have you ever done like you put down, yoga on bed, right? Morning yoga, evening yoga.
Yes.
And it makes those knots just disappear. It's amazing what
Exactly.
5 minutes. So I can't imagine 15,
Mhm.
even. Wow. So what's a closing motto or something that you live by that you think is life changing? I mean, that would benefit anyone with parents or I'm not and anyone not we all have parents, but maybe someone who, sometimes it's teachers, sometimes it's an aunt, uncle, grandparents, but anytime we interact with children of all ages, like the just breathe, I like that. But anything else that you live by to help keep your sanity? I know I'm putting you on the
That
spot, but just
I
something
know,
that
right? I actually, so I've heard it before, but it came to the forefront just recently on a podcast I was listening to. But just remembering that we're all uniquely different, and remember to love each other whether we fail or we succeed, because whether we fail or succeed, it doesn't matter, because we're exactly the same person. And some of us are takers and some are not. And to really accept people and take us where we are, whether it's in yoga, whether it's in growing, like regular childhood things
Or
or
academic stress. I,
academic.
I come
Yeah.
across so many kids who have mental breakdowns because of grades. So I love what you just said. I mean, we really do have to embrace kids who might not value, homework, and they just choose not to do it. And that's not a reflection of their future success or happiness, right? But I think,
Yeah.
and I've done it as an educator, I look back and I would have raised them differently. But you just get so caught up in what it does mean, grades and being responsible and following whatever homework and projects. But don't you think that your stress as a mom though would also decrease because their stress becomes our stress?
Exactly. And it's trying to find that balance because every parent wants the best for their child and to see them succeed and to live a happy life and successful, however it is, whatever they deem as successful, but just to live a happy, fulfilled life. I think everyone wants that. And so, and unfortunately, grades are part of that to make their lives easier. So trying to find that balance of, you know, celebrating them however they are and being a parent, but also remembering to find that balance.
Well, and that the occasional F is not going to be the end of the world, because we've all known successful people who have failed subjects or dropped out of college, or and I'm an educator, but when it affects their mental health,
Oh
then
yeah.
it becomes it's not a good place to be in.
Mhm.
They need to do more yoga. I think that's what they need to do, right? I think how they have the
Yes.
half a credit. I mean, the half a one semester of PE. There's got to
Mhm.
be some because that's torture. I know when Chelsea took it back in what 2019, 20, it was. I mean, people were throwing up. Kids were dropping out.
Oh.
It's intense. So people who are already
Mm.
athletes, they did well. But if you're not used to it, and it's a grueling summers from 8 to 1, you're talking
Yeah.
long.
I'm really curious. My son did the after school one, and then next month he's doing that 8 to 1,
There
and I was like,
isn't. See, someone told me that they only did the summer, but my daughter did do the 3 to 5. It was after school
yeah,
for
mhm,
so many weeks. And then
yeah,
they also had the 8 to 1 during summer. But
yeah,
I think they've modified it because maybe kids were just, kids shouldn't be throwing up. And when you
yeah.
have, 5 hours, you can't be doing,
And as it gets
intense.
hotter and hotter, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I'm really curious to see how it goes. I can't wait
Is he an
to
athlete I mean, does he enjoy sports?
he played soccer. He played a lot of sports when he was younger, and then since he's moved here, or we've moved here, he's really into paddling. So he's a paddler
So
as
I
well.
think I
So
noticed yeah, kids who are already active, like my student who did soccer for years, she said it's so easy. And I don't know why these boys, I guess they didn't like her because it was just so easy to her. It's probably a
yeah.
competitive thing. But yeah, that's a great reminder though, for us to even do, 5 minutes of just, can you explain what that final pose is in yoga?
That final pose is really to let your body physically decompress. And hopefully, if you are able to let your body decompress, then your mind and anything going on with your emotions hopefully can decompress too. It can be really challenging for some people, though, because silence can be scary. It can feel relaxing to some, but really scary and really loud for others.
And
So,
stillness, right? I think the
yes, and
stillness, because
stillness.
sometimes you just think, and I've been caught up in it. You're still, then you think, oh, maybe I'll do maybe just do a
Mhm.
little stretching.
Yeah.
But it is very healing just
Mhm.
to be still.
Yes. And it for Shavasana, for me, you can be like traditionally it's on your back, but some people that with their eyes closed, but that feels very vulnerable to some. So um being in any position in my eyes, whether it's a yoga pose, whether it's curled up in fetal position, whether your eyes are open, legs up the wall, it's all about getting into a position that you're able to find that rest and peacefulness. And so,
Thank you. So how do people find you?
You can find me on Bindu Living on Instagram or Facebook, and I post my class schedule. I am currently at the Mililani YMCA, the Leeward YMCA, Joint Base Pearl Harbor Hickam, and MCBH for Unit PT, as well as UFC Waikele. So I'm all those places, as well as Comeback Yoga. It's on YouTube channel online. It's based out of Denver, Colorado. It's a nonprofit specifically for veterans and their
Oh,
dependents. However, it's the one I teach, it is pre-recorded and it is on Sunday. Um, it is trauma informed yoga, so it might be a little different than what you would see any of my other classes per se,
and what's
and
the
a
name
lot
of
more
that?
gentle.
What's the name of
It's
that?
comeback yoga.
Comeback yoga. Wow, you are all over. I just really admire your journey, Rachel. Thank you so much. I know you're super busy, but I really appreciate the time that you've given me. And hopefully I will, because it is in person, right? The YMCA now.
It is in person for Leeward. The one at Mililani, I'm still live streaming from
Oh,
my house.
that must
So
be fun.
I'm enjoying that because I don't have to get up quite as early.
Well, I think a lot of us are enjoying, yeah, some kind of anything online. I mean, I've been doing like the yoga online. I just have to. So you're motivating me. I'm going to start again today. I know sometimes there's many fresh starts, but as long as we never like quit, right?
Exactly. And just come back. Life is an ebb and flow. It's all good.
Of that. Well, thank you, and hope to see you
Thanks so
soon. Take
much.
care.
Yeah, you
Okay,
too. Thanks so much.
bye.
Bye.